Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. We made it. I'm sorry this is so late. It's just been super busy. But we are here to talk about Titan Season 4, Episode 5, Inside Man. Great title. My second favorite episode of the season. Oh, I love this episode so much. Narratively, it's the strongest so far, in my opinion. I feel like we really kicked it up a notch with pushing the story forward, and it feels like we're gearing up to a satisfying conclusion for this week's episode, Brother Blood. So I'm really excited. Like, the episode kind of just flowed in a nice way. There was no whiplash. You weren't severely confused, outside of a few writing choices, which we will get to. But the episode was tense when it needed to be. It was funny when it needed to be. I had a good time. And when I can have a good time watching a Titans episode, that can do it for me. It really can. But let's get to it, right? So we open up. So we open up with a beautiful shot of the blood moon. And like I said in my initial reaction, I just love this opening shot so much. We have these wonderful colors. You have the blood moon illuminating everything, including Gar. We pan over to him. The red is on his face. He's stricken with fear. It's perfect. But we cut over to Sebastian and Rachel, and they are in the vault kind of talking, and Sebastian kind of recounts a childhood dream about him being on this endless train ride alone. He can't really get off of it. He can't do anything but just be there, and he's afraid and he's crying. And he says, that dream is kind of similar to what he's dealing with now, with kind of being like Destiny's puppet. He feels like no matter which way he goes, whatever he tries to do, he can't really escape fate. And that's really an underlying theme throughout this entire episode. So Rachel, after hearing this, she emphasizes, like, look, I understand, but you have a choice in all of this. Do remember that. This is your life. You can do what you want with it. You don't have to, go with Mother Mayhem. You don't have to do that. So Sebastian's like, well, I get that, but like, my entire life, I thought I was nothing. And this line is important because I really feel that this is part of what eases Sebastian's transition into Brother Blood towards the end of the episode, which we'll come back to. So Rachel feels like, Sebastian will make the right choice when it comes down to it. Yikes, I don't think. Ooh, that bit her in the ass, but we cut to Tim and Bernard, and they are monitoring the security footage. We have this weird shot of the bow staff just sitting on top of Tim's head. I don't know what that was about, but it made me chuckle. So within this scene, we cut to Connor because they pan in on the security footage of him in the hallway. And he's still not telling anyone about what's going on with him. He's not telling anyone about his stab wound. He's not telling anyone that he threw up a snake and it's swimming in a toilet right now. He's not saying anything. And I'm just flabbergasted. Like, I'm trying to understand his frame of mind at this point, because there is not one benefit to keeping this a secret. There's not one. Not one. Like, literally, all you have to do is just go to Dick, say something so they can figure this out. And people were like, oh, well, maybe he was under Mother Mayhem's influence or something. And I don't really buy that, because him being under Mother Mayhem's control and influence, that didn't start until after the snake entered his body again. That's when it started. So everything before that was all Connor, and he's still being foolish. So I'm just, but whatever. So we cut away from that. We're with Mother Mayhem and the crew. They root out a dissenter, and basically he reports that the flock is worried that all of their efforts are going to waste. They're going to be in vain because they have yet to see Sebastian, and the blood moon is here and we're running out of time. But Mother Mayhem is like, freaking relax. We got this. So she says, Azrath Metrion Zinthos, and then the snake rears its ugly head. And this thing is like 10 times bigger than what it was when Connor threw him up. And I'm just like, oh, if only Connor had said something, we would not be in this position right now. They could have analyzed the snake. They could have controlled the situation had Connor just opened his mouth. But I digress. So we cut to Tim and Bernard, and they're still monitoring the security footage. Tim was very, very annoying this episode. I mean, he takes the place of Connor. Like, my goodness. Tim is basically complaining about being sidelined. Like, oh my god, Dick is putting me on the side. Nah, 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 nah. And I'm trying to understand, Tim, how exactly did you think you could help in this instance? Like, how? Because what could you have done? They don't highlight his detective skills. They don't highlight his intelligence. Both are attributes that he could really bring to the team, but they don't highlight them. So what exactly could he do to really help out in this situation but monitor the security footage? Like, seriously, you've been a Titan for 2 seconds. Just relax. So Bernard, kind of gives his take on everything and reassures Tim, like, look, I believe in you and you will know your moment when it comes. Please remember that. That will come back up in the future. But Tim is still complaining. He's like, look, I felt like when I was in Gotham, I was really making a difference. But here it's like, I feel like they're on the PS5 and I'm on the Wii. And it's like, first of all, don't disrespect the Wii. The Wii is a banger console, first of all. Second of all, how did you feel like you were really making a difference in Gotham again? Like, in what way? Okay, whatever, Tim. You got it. Tim and Bernard notice the snake on the monitor, and it's slithering through the halls, big as hell. So Tim decides it's just the greatest idea to go confront the snake. And I'm like, Tim! So Tim is running after the snake, and, Bernard is running after him like, Tim, stop. So they confront the snake. The snake lunges, hisses at them, and they run. They book it. I'm like, yeah, you better run. Look, what are you doing? They get behind a door, and they kind of have a moment where they're staring at each other, and the camera pans in a little bit. And I don't really feel anything when I watch those two interact. It feels like two friends interacting. Like, there are no sparks. There's no chemistry. I don't see it between them. There's no chemistry. So we cut away from that. The team learns that the snake is here and they're trying to figure out what's going on. Dick asks for Jinx's point of view. She really doesn't offer anything that'll really help. So the team is like really questioning what the snake, like, where did the snake come from? Connor is just standing in the corner like,
y'all know what's going on? Because I don't.
I'm just like, Connor, all you have to do is just open your mouth. But he keeps silent once again. So Dick asks Jinx once again, like, is there any way we can stop this? So she has a semi-funny line. She, says, well, I can only think of one person who's equipped to deal with a snake that big, Samuel L. Jackson. And Gar busts out laughing. Dick is so over it. Even Kory cracks a smile. I cracked a smile. And so she basically says, look, if you catch the snake, I will magic your snake. Which, what does that even mean? Like, this is what I'm talking about with Jinx. Her dialogue is so cringe. It leaves so much to be desired. She leaves a lot to be desired. I want more for Jinx as a character. I feel like she does do her thing in this episode. She is very helpful, and I gave her a point for that. But that's the first instance. And I hope that things pick up, because as it stands, there's just not a lot with Jinx. Like, there really isn't. Like, I feel like she's falling into the same kind of, not trope, but she's falling into the same place that Gar is in currently. Like, he's great for comedic timing. He's great for exposition. But as far as when it comes down to utilizing her powers, utilizing her knowledge in the realm of magic, it's not there. It's not there as often as it should be, in my opinion. So that's kind of where my disappointment comes in with Jinx. I just want more for her, and I hope we get more down the line. But Dick kind of splits up the team to cover each side of Star Labs to root out the snake and, nip this in the bud. So Gar and Jinx search the East Wing, and they have a little conversation while they're doing this. Now, it wasn't just me, shout out to Irons, but I definitely saw some sparks between Jinx and Gar. More than I've seen between Tim and Bernard in their entirety in the season so far. That's just my opinion. But they have it's nothing like crazy, but it's something. It was something. I don't need it to go anywhere. I don't want it to go anywhere, but I just felt like the actors have good chemistry. But anyways, they have a conversation during this scene. Gar kind of inquires about the meaning of his vision. And while this is happening, Jinx swipes a vial of something from wherever they're at. And I guess that's going to come back up in the future. I don't remember it coming back up within the episode unless I blanked. Let me know. But basically, Jinx tells Gar, like, the area within your vision is called the Red. And she really doesn't know too much about it outside of rumors, so that really doesn't go anywhere. But at least we have a name for it, a very unoriginal name, but a name nonetheless. So while they're searching and everything, they discover a corpse and its face is ripped off. And that freaked me out. The first time I watched it, I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. Oh no. So we cut away from there, and Connor's kind of grabbing his side and walking in the hall. His injuries are clearly getting worse, and he's just not saying anything, but it doesn't matter because the snake finds him and jumps back inside of him. So now Mother Mayhem is in control and possessive of Connor, and basically while she's possessing him, he goes to Rachel and Sebastian and relieves Rachel of watch duty. And this is all in an effort to get Sebastian to step outside. So we cut away from that, and Dick and Kory are talking. So this idea of following the prophecy, being Destiny's puppet, it comes up once again because Kory contemplates fulfilling the prophecy and killing Sebastian. But Dick is like, look, we don't have to do what it says. Like, you remember season 1, you remember with Raven, we conquered that. We can do it again. We can change the prophecy. So while this is all going on, Raven steps outside and they're like, what the hell are you doing here? You're supposed to be watching Sebastian. And Rachel's like, wait, I thought you guys said it was cool that Connor take over. So they realize something is wrong. They go and find out that Connor's alone with Sebastian, and they confront him just before they're about to leave. So Connor attacks Dick with his heat vision. And then Jinx kind of knocks him out before he can attack again. So cheers to Jinx. But after this all happens, right, in infinite wisdom, they decide to pluck Sebastian from the impenetrable vault, right? You said Constantine tried to break in and Superman tried to break in for whatever reason, and they couldn't get in. You're going to pluck him from this place and just throw him out in the public space. And I'm like, why would you do that? Why would you take him from the vault and put him in the public? And it's like, there's no game plan at all. They're just in a car driving and hoping for the best. I'm like, you don't even have a secondary destination in mind. Like, they end up going to Elko Diner, which, okay, but that wasn't the initial plan. So I don't know. I felt like that was lazy writing. They could have easily kept Sebastian in the vault and just have Kory stay with Rachel and them. Like, whatever. But they head to Elko Diner. We cut back to Gar. He is freaking out about everything that's going on, but Dick kind of, steps in as a leader, reassures him everything is going to be fine. We are going to get through this. Don't worry. I just love these moments of Dick being a team leader. It's so wonderful. So Dick is kind of assessing Connor's injuries. He lifts up his shirt and the snake is crawling inside of him, basically making his belly bigger. It's giving Alien. I love the reference, but it was gross. So Kory, Rachel, and Sebastian are at Elko Diner. Kory transports them back into the metaphysical realm from last episode, and we see Zadira again. So it's good that we get to see her again. But we cut away from that, and Mother Mayhem discovers Sebastian's location because, of course, they're in the public now. But she realizes she can't really get into Elko Diner. She can't reach that metaphysical realm at her current state. So she's got to figure that out. We cut back to Elko Diner. Zadira makes the argument that no one can resist destiny. You can't resist your destiny. That's the whole underlying theme throughout this entire episode. Rachel steps in and once again reiterates, like, Sebastian, you have a choice. You don't have to be with Mother Mayhem. You can do what you want to do, right? So Zadira is trying to push Kory into her destiny in killing Sebastian, basically citing her responsibilities to Tamaran. And Kory's like, I don't know what you heard, but I don't owe Tamaran a thing. I did my job. In fact, I canceled out the prophecy from season 1. I did beyond what I was supposed to do. So I don't owe you anything. But Zadira was like, well, you really didn't do anything because the change was already within Rachel. You were just a bystander to Destiny. And Rachel at this point is so annoyed. She's like, all right, we don't have to listen to her. We can go. But they decide to stick it out for a little longer. But we cut back to Mother Mayhem, and she is begging Trigon for guidance to figure out how to get into Elko Diner and get her son. And she's over this pool of blood that's like bubbling and intensifying every time Trigon speaks. I think this was just another way for them to not physically have him here on the show. And honestly, I'm not mad at it because this season Trigon has felt more like a threat than he did the entirety of season 1. So I'm not really mad at it. The cuts during this scene though were really weird, like really weird cuts during this scene. But anyways, Dick, Jinx, and Gar are assessing Connor's injuries, and it's pretty bad. Like probability of organ failure is at like 80%. I'm like, oh, Connor kind of pleads for his life. He's clearly very scared in the moment. You know, Dick tries to reassure him it's gonna be fine, and then he's like, really? Why don't we ask Hank how he's doing? It's like, oh my god. That was a good line, I'm not gonna lie. Actually offers some great advice. She basically says, look, we need a magical expulsion. This is a curse. This is not a regular snake. But unfortunately, in order to administer the expulsion, I gotta hit this thing head on, and there's no way to do that when it's crawling inside Connor's body. So Dick comes up with the idea to have like a live virus kind of infiltrate Connor's body to hit the snake head on. So as he's describing what needs to be done, I'm thinking, oh my god, is he gonna turn into a virus? And Gar is making a face like, really? And I'm like, oh my god, this is so gonna happen, and I'm so excited. But we cut away from that. Gina's sacrifice. There's really nothing more to say there. Trigon advises a sacrifice. It happens. Moving back to Gar. He decides, I'm gonna turn into a virus. And I'm like, yes. It's so reminiscent of the OG show. Season 3, episode 4, Crash. When Cyborg gets a virus thanks to Beast Boy. So he has to turn into like a virus and weed it out. It's great. It's a great episode. But basically, he's going to turn into a virus to serve as a carrier for Jinx's blue ash that's needed to do the magical expulsion. Bernard lays out the risks for everything. If Connor dies, so does Gar, and Gar could get stuck. So Dick is like, okay, stop. He pulls Gar to the side, and he's like, look, are you sure you're ready to do this? Like, do you understand what you're being asked to do? And he triple checks to make sure Gar is ready. You know, Gar is like, I know what's going on. I'm ready. Let's do it. You've trained me well. Let's do it. It was a very nice moment between the two. But Gar enters Connor as a virus, and he starts doing his thing. It starts to work. And then Connor starts to have VFib. But he is saved. I was like, oh my god. It was very tense for a moment, but he's saved. Connor ends up throwing the snake back up, which was very disgusting to watch. And once the snake comes out of his body, it's like slithering on the floor. Tim finally has his hero moment and whacks it on the head with his bow staff. And I'm like, this was his hero moment? Like, this is what you've been waiting for? All right, Tim. All right. But we cut away from that. We're back at the Elko Diner. So Zadira and Kory are talking, and she's kind of had enough of it. So she attempts to kill Sebastian. Kory stops her, like, what the hell are you doing? And Zadira's like, look, you need to see what could happen if you let this man live. So she gets transported into the Dickkory vision, which was just so wonderful. Basically, it's celebrating Mari's first birthday. I assume it's her first birthday or whatever birthday it is. They're celebrating her. So it's very, very cute. But, you know, all good things don't last forever. So the vision ends, and, you know, Zadira is making her case like, you need to kill Sebastian. This needs to happen now or the world will come to an end. You need to understand, Kory, you were born to kill Sebastian. And that line was very strange. it feels almost like they're rewriting season 1 because, you know, in season 1, Kory was brought on Earth to kill Raven. But now it's like, oh, you were born to kill Sebastian. Like, where did that come from? But maybe she meant people like Sebastian, which I can understand. So Kory decides, look, I'm not going to be Destiny's puppet. I'm not doing this. So she decides to not kill Sebastian. And, you know, Sebastian's very thankful. But, you know, nothing good ever lasts. Mother Mayhem enters the diner finally. And her and Kory go at it for a second. It's a pretty cool fight scene. It's very, very short, but it's nice. Sebastian steps in before things can get worse. And he's like, look, I appreciate what you guys have done, but I don't want anyone to die over me. So he accepts his fate and he says Azeroth, Mithril, and Zinthos. And so at this point, when he said those 3 words, he's intertwined with Trigon. So he is no longer the same Sebastian as before. And that's no more evident than the final scene of the episode. So we cut to Tim and Bernard. They have their whack-ass kiss. And let me tell you why it's whack. There are a couple reasons why. Number 1, as I said earlier, I don't feel that there's any chemistry between these 2 actors. So it kind of felt unearned. Number 2, we still don't know Bernard's age. And this man looks like he's 30. And the actor is 30. And that's no shade to him. But when you're putting this actor with another who could pass for 17, 18 years old, it's uncomfortable. So then on top of that, what led up to the kiss was ridiculous because Tim was like, oh, you know what you said earlier about me knowing when my moment would come? And Bernard is thinking he's talking about when he had his hero moment and he whacked the snake. I'm thinking that as well because you spent the whole episode bitching and complaining about being on the sidelines. But no. Tim's like, no, that's not my moment. And then he kisses Bernard. I'm like, so kissing Bernard was your moment? Like, what are you talking about? You've known this man for less than a month. What are you talking about? Like, what? I was just, okay. So you threw like his whole subplot, his whole motivation. You just kind of shifted that for the kiss. And it's like, okay, whatever. But they kiss, and then we cut away from there. We are back with Gar. He is back in human form. Very sweet moment between the team. He's very excited about what just happened. Dick is smiling and laughing. It was a nice little moment. But we cut away from there to the final scene of the episode. Sebastian, who's now pretty much intertwined with Trigon because he said those 3 words, he steps into his new home and he steps into the role of Brother Blood. He ascends. You can see he has this brief smile on his face. Like he is very happy with what he sees. And that line that he said at the beginning of the episode, how he felt like he was nothing, this is the complete opposite of that. So I can see why he was so drawn into being Brother Blood, because everybody's chanting his name and everybody worships him. And he's like, yeah, I could get used to this. All right. And we end the episode. So, man, that was a stacked episode, and it was stacked in the best way possible. I am so excited for next week. The rating is a 9 out of 10. It was just some dumb writing choices, dumb character choices, but it wasn't to the point where it impeded my enjoyment of the episode. So I'm not gonna, knock it down for that. But yeah, the episode was really good. Let me know what you guys think or don't. But thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.